Showtime in the big city. We welcome you into Three Guys Before the Game. Our summer series continues, and yeah.
Let me say it.
Go ahead.
We got a good one for you today.
We do have a good one for you. The Vice President and Athletic Director of West Virginia University, Wren Baker, is with us. This would be third appearance or fourth appearance?
I believe third.
Huh?
I believe third. Each one's a little better than the one before, I think. We'll see if this one continues.
You've changed. I went and looked at the thumbnails of past episodes. You know?
At Big 12 meetings, the SWAs, the Senior Women Administrators, told me I was in the midst of a glow-up. I had to go and Google what that meant.
Got you a glow-up.
A glow-up.
Nice.
That's a compliment.
Yeah, it is a compliment. Yeah.
He looks good.
It's kind of like that. So the way that you've evolved is kind of like the Bob Dylan song, I was so much older then, I'm younger than that now. It's kind of like how you're doing. Like
that's right.
You're getting, right, Hop?
Yeah, and he has a healthy glow about him right now.
Yeah,
I mean, as opposed to me, pasty and kind of light green.
You need to spend some time at the beach, Hoppy.
He does.
20th anniversary yesterday for Heather and I.
Congratulations.
Yeah, thank you. But we celebrated last week. We took a few days there in Nantucket.
2 decades.
2 decades, 20th anniversary.
Putting up with you. Seems like 20 to Wren. Seems like 40
And in
to poor
honor of
Heather.
that, Home Run 304 popcorn's 50% off today.
Well, it's sold out. That's the last bag.
yeah.
It's sold out. It's sold out. We saved you a bag.
So just walk into the store. This is confirmed.
Sold out.
It did sell out.
Not available. It's the last bag. Happy anniversary from us.
Yeah, thank you.
Give that to Heather. She'll like that. Three Guys Before the Game brought to us by Jan Dills, attorneys at law. They won't take no for an answer. By Comax Business Systems, keeping West Virginia's business data safe, secure, and efficient for 25 years. By Lou Wendell Marine Sales in St. Albans. Well, they sell family fun. Visit LouWendellMarineSales.com.
You been invited on Brad's boat yet?
Haven't got into it yet.
Me neither.
Three Guys brought to us by
neither.
Gomart. Get a
yet.
Gomart rewards card. Go to Gomart.com for details or just download the app. Three Guys also brought to us by Tudor's Biscuit World. Start your day the homemade way with a Tudor's biscuit. So let's jump on in. Great to have you here with us.
It's always good to be with you guys.
You know, something stunned me. Stunned me, I tell you.
Yes.
In my research and preparation for today's show.
Do your own research.
Yeah, I do. Would it surprise you? Okay, I'm going to ask this to Brad.
Who?
You. I'm going to ask you. Over under. West Virginia University, over under in number of athletic directors in school history. The number is
Give me the number.
Number is pasted at 11.5. Over under.
Under.
Actually, I messed with you. You're the 13th, but still to me, that is extremely surprising. You've been in the business of intercollegiate athletics for well over 100 years. And just to be the 13th, that surprised me. Surprised you, Hop?
Yeah, I'd have to think about that. But you had a couple. I mean, we've been through this period. We had a couple here for, the last 15 years, right?
Long time.
3 and 15 years. And then we had 30 years where you had 2. So,
yeah.
And I'm making those numbers up.
I just think it seems like a small number.
Yeah.
I will tell you the national trend is that 10 years are getting shorter and shorter, unfortunately. Yeah.
like the preacher. Gotta move on after a while.
Yeah. In all seriousness, you follow data. What is the average shelf life of a Power 4 AD?
Right around 6 years.
6. Yeah.
What if the football or basketball coach has a losing record? What's the tenure?
It probably takes a nosedive in those times for sure.
Football and basketball coach would be a little bit less than that, I would think, right? What's that, 4.5?
They're about saying, and actually college presidents are kind of in and around there now. They're much shorter tenures. Listen, social media, all that stuff has put so much pressure on public positions that they just turn over more. And so I think that's all part of it. And that's why I always say you can't do this job looking over your shoulder, because it's a surefire way to get yourself upside down. You just have to make the best decisions you can with the most data that you can, and hope that ultimately that leads you down the right path.
Right. And I would imagine the shortened tenure is a result of a couple of things, some of them being that the money has increased so much that businesses now and corporate sponsors have a larger say or desire to say that didn't exist in the past. You get peripheral sources now making suggestions where in the past you had the old retired coach who was the athletic director, and now you guys basically you're businessmen. You're CEOs is what you are. You can call yourself AD, but you're a CEO of a major business, and as a result, more dollars, more pressure, more visibility.
Yeah, and your knowledge of that criticism is much greater now because of coverage and social media and talk radio and message board. I mean, go back the last 15, 20 years and, used to you had to actually go pick up a newspaper and read it, and you likely didn't read all the newspapers across the state. Now, there's instant criticism, whether it's through your email or social media or whatever. So I think it's twofold. I think probably institutions are a little quicker to want to move in a different direction than they used to be. But individuals also probably feel pressure in a different way and want to hit reset quicker than they used to be. And it's why I'm very, very intentional, and Tony knows this during seasons. If we're going through a time when it's not great, I really do build a wall around myself to the extent that I can, because I recognize that sports, what's really special about it is it allows people to be passionate, emotional, irrational. And that's great for them, but part of your job is to really try to drill down on the data and make analytical decisions to the best you can and put all that aside.
You looking at me?
Yeah, I'm looking at you. You looking at me?
You want me to get right into it?
I mean, when he wears lavender, they always say when you're going to fire somebody, you should wear like a color like purple or pink.
Really? Hadn't heard that.
No, you can Google that. And so I feel like Hoppy wore his purple shirt today because he's just going to be firing hardball questions.
You see he's on his haunches. He's ready to launch. What do you have over there, Sparky?
I just have, Mr. Chairman, how much time do I have? Because I got a lot of questions.
You do? What? Hey.
What do you want to do? Go ahead and get Brad involved, and then I'll get to it.
Well, you can't sit over here with 4 pages of notes and be ready to fire and then say get everybody else. So go ahead. Just
He pulled out a yellow
let's go ahead.
He did take out a legal pad.
It's a legal pad. He's got handwritten notes on there. Go ahead.
Couple of things.
I cede my time on the floor to the gentleman from the Eastern Panhandle.
Since he went into this, what he calls semi-retirement, he's changed a lot.
Not true.
He's a little bit more difficult to handle.
Brad, is that true?
I don't know if that's true.
He brings his lunch to work, even though he doesn't work here anymore. he doesn't have an office, and so he just kind of like mingles around the walls of the building, and it's kind of fun. It's kind of sad and funny both at the same time.
Go ahead.
I will say this for Hoppy. He called me last week. I still don't know exactly what for, because it was the day I arrived at Nantucket. And he said, he asked what I was doing. I said, well, I just got to Nantucket. Heather and I are celebrating anniversary. And Hoppy, to his credit, said, let's connect when you get back. This is not urgent, but I have some questions. Now, it kind of still ruined the anniversary. So I had to sit around and think, like, okay, what's this guy got going now?
Good job, Hop.
Yeah.
Nice.
So you're still at it. But at least he decided to only partially run.
Sure.
Well, now you've reconnected, and now he's got questions.
Go ahead.
So I will take a step back. Go ahead.
I think that it has been erroneous on the part of me and others to say, how are you going to raise $20.5 million? When I think it is more accurate to say, you got a budget of $110 million. You can get $28 million this afternoon. The key is, how do you backfill? Okay, so I think the new word is backfill of not 20.5, because you're going to have some natural growth anyway in revenue. So the $15 million has to come from somewhere, and I think it's relatively well known that you're looking at foundation and MAC, you're looking at institutional help, you're looking at naming rights. So if, as much as you're comfortable with it, be specific on where that backfill money comes from.
Yeah, it really is a combination of everything above. And if you want to go back a year or so ago, we had Huron come in and do a massive deep dive into the athletic department and assessment, really for the board, for President Gee. We knew there'd be a new president, for a new president to come in. And we specifically selected Huron. There was an RFP put out because they're not an athletics traditional based firm. We wanted the data to be unimpeachable. And so Huron is the leading national consultant for higher education for campus. And so they come in and we said, we want to know, like, grade us out. How are we doing in a variety of metrics? What does the future look like for us if we want to be competitive? And it's confirmed a lot of things that we've said before. We do a really good job of raising money when compared to peer institutions, especially when you factor in that we have less premium seating than other institutions.
And I'll get to that.
If we had more premium seating, that's going to drive donations. It's going to drive what you require annually, but also it's going to drive people trying to get jockeying in position to get their hands on those. But one of the other things it found is that our campus investment, the average Big 12 campus investment at this point is somewhere, and this is student fees plus campus support, around $40 million. And we're way less than 25% of that. And so I do think it was eye-opening for the board. Now, there's a lot of priorities on campus, a lot of things that are important. But as we're at this situation in time, you hear this squeaking?
Yes.
Is this Hoppy's? Is he over here?
I'm
working
on
effort. Yeah.
I'm working on it.
But as you're at this moment in time, I think there's a value proposition to be made. How important are some of these things? And so, I think so it'll be a combination. We will increase revenues. We're down the path on one naming rights opportunity that's significant, a 7-figure opportunity
for the Coliseum or the Mountaineer Field.
To be named soon, but we're shopping both of those. One of those is close, and we're shopping other things as well. We've made some changes to our men's basketball per seat requirement. You can anticipate at some point we'll probably do a reseating there. And so we're going to drive revenue. We're cleaning up some parking. We have some, over the years, we have people who have found ways to land grab parking passes. The problem is, when you do that, you're cutting off. There's a significant donation requirement it's not just that you're allowing Brad to buy $10,000 blue light passes, whatever those are, but we charge a certain donor level to be able to buy, and then we put a cap on those. And for everybody who we allow to exceed that cap, that's a $10,000 donor that you're losing somewhere because those sell out. And so we're going back doing an audit of things like that to clean up. And so when I have referenced in the past, we're going to have to do some things that's going to upset some people. It's going to make some people uncomfortable, but we're no longer at a position where we can forego revenue when there is revenue to be had. So that's what we're focusing on. We've been growing revenue. I think over my 3 budget cycles here, we've averaged about 6% of our self-generated revenue growth. So we've done a good job. But that in and of itself is not going to capture that. So you saw that there's a student athletic fee, which we can talk about some. But then there'll be an increased campus investment. And campuses went to the foundation and asked for help with that, given campus's financial position, and the foundation's been very generous to support us. And so it really is everybody doing what they can to ensure that the athletic program, which we all know is important from a campus branding standpoint, from a statewide branding standpoint, from an enrollment standpoint, ultimately, because it is a big attraction on the enrollment front. Everybody's doing what they can to put us in the best position possible.
Are you going to ask, do you have a specific proposal to bring to the Board of Governors for, as you've talked about, or do you need to bring it to the Board of Governors, of the premium seating or premium fan experience at the Coliseum and at Milan Puskar Stadium, which all that stuff is sold out. So I know you've talked generally about expanding that higher-end fan experience, which will bring in revenue, and the same at the Coliseum. So what specifically are you thinking about there?
So we have a very detailed kind of press box side renovation expansion of our premium seating space that architects have dove deep into, that not just the architects that do the renderings, but also a company called Legends, which is a combination. It's co-owned by the Cowboys and the Yankees. They've done a survey, and they've surveyed if we build X number of new suites, new club seats, new loges, What's the appetite to sell those? What premium areas in other parts of the stadium are you vacating? And then they look at the backfill of those. So you want to know, you don't want to build a pro forma that's built on not doing the dominoes that'll fall on down the line. And so the board has seen the results of both the architectural renderings, the cost estimates, but also an ROI. And we're starting, and we've been given the green light to talk to some donors, and really that'll be what drives how quick the project goes. Do you get a couple of those big gifts? It's like a pyramid. You're looking for one monster gift, two big gifts, and then you start to build down the pyramid from there. But what you want to do is raise as much money as you can. One, you have to ensure that the project cash flows. You'd like for it to be a positive contributor to your annual cash flow right now. And then the more money that you can raise on top of that, the more free capital that it's gonna bring in. So we've run those exercises. We kind of know what those numbers are. Usually you have a silent phase of a fundraising campaign for a project like that. I would say we are entering the silent phase. How quick will the public rollout of that come? It depends on how much momentum we build in the silent phase and how quickly we build it.
You stopping now for a minute? Or do you got more?
No, I want to.
Just taking a breath over there.
Because there's a flow here. If you got flow or a follow-up there, by all means, jump in.
No, go ahead. Go ahead. I got other stuff, but go ahead. I don't want to dominate this.
Let's move into, so the revenue generation is an important piece. The management of all of this new stuff as it relates to NIL and athletes is another part of that. You announced Gold and Blue Enterprises yesterday. Let's walk through what that means, what that unit's going to do, what its purpose is.
Yeah, so already before we even entered into this new world of college athletics, there were multiple athletic departments that have their own foundation. Some that are run entirely out of a foundation. But when you hear A&M reference that to do something for their athletic department, they have to get permission from the 12th man. That is a foundation that controls much of their premium seating, much of their fundraising, that is connected to them, but also separate from them, okay? And so we have never done that. We've run most of our operation out of the university. WVU Foundation does do our fundraising in terms of our MAC employees are technically WVU Foundation employees. And they also invest the money that us and other areas raise. And so none of that necessarily will change. We thought that we needed a 501c3 setup that's going to own a for-profit commercial entity for a couple of reasons. One, we want to pay the student athletes out of there. We don't want to be encumbered by the bureaucracy of a higher education institution when these rosters are moving so fast, like just the paperwork involved in all of that. I'm
sorry, and you're talking about benefits packages, for lack of a better term, for athletes that are here, not NIL deals.
That's right. The rev share payments that we're going to do. So that's one of the first things we wanted to do is create an entity that could do those quickly, did not have a bunch of processes. Also, that did not open you up to potential FOIA requests where your entire payroll for your entire team, everybody is just out there for the world to digest and make counter offers to.
And some of that is competitive reasons, not necessarily that you want to be opaque.
That's right.
I mean, there's a competitive balance there that you want to protect.
Yeah, that's right. If your running back's having a great year, you'd rather not everybody in the country that's watching him put up big numbers know exactly what you're giving him. And so So that's part of that. But then also, I envision in this new world that we will look more like professional sports, and we need to be positioned to be able to take advantage of commercial opportunities. So I look at some of the things from a licensing standpoint that Country Roads Trust has done, for instance. The beer, the bourbon, the Goat Pub Bar and Grill. Should there be a bar and grill concept that potentially could use some of our name, image, and likeness, and we get a cut of that? Should we look at the potential of entertainment district type stuff? You've seen a couple of those concepts roll out. I think we should be thinking about all of those things. Do we ultimately move in that direction or not? And I want to be clear that campus still will control these entities. We're not giving up campus involvement and control. But I think we need the freedom and flexibility to swim in those waters and swim in them quickly when it makes sense for us to do it, and to grow our commercial business. Having an outside entity, does that open up a Green Bay Packers ownership kind of concept at some point where, the general public, they don't get a say, they don't take dividends, but they can consider themselves to be a shareholder at a certain value. And so I just think as we look at the future, it's really important to open up as many opportunities for yourself as you can. And we were pretty limited in the structure that we had. And if you look at, universities are state agencies, so there's certainly lots of guidelines, rules, and regulations. But even with W Foundation, they're very entrenched in this is what we do. And they have a board, and they have a policy book and rules and regulations that they go by. And so we need the freedom and flexibility, if we're going to compete in this new world, to be much more adaptable and malleable, so that we can very quickly scale out commercial business opportunities.
Okay, makes a lot of sense from a university standpoint or an athletic department. Will this new group also work with the various organizations, the corporate sponsorship, sales, MAC, to identify and execute on student-athlete relationships?
Yeah, I do believe that, and we're still getting determinations every day. I got an invite yesterday to yet another lengthy session on interpretation of settlement implementation. But the short answer to that is yes. The rules do allow us to do a certain amount of matchmaking for those real NIL opportunities. The old system of donors just throwing money into one big collective bundle, thus the name collectives, and then making up some reason to pay for play, is very much the target of the settlement implementation. They want to eliminate that. What would still be allowed is any kind of commercial forward-facing business that has goods and services for sale can still do deals with student athletes. They have to pass the Deloitte clearinghouse if it's greater than $600. They're not using the term market value, and I've heard Brad go off on his market value analysis, and we may get to that some a little bit. They're using range of compensation, and they're doing that based on the universe of similar deals and a variety of factors. And I'm sure you guys have read some of those articles without me going into great detail. And so those opportunities will be a difference maker. And so I imagine we will have some sort of entity living in Gold and Blue Enterprises that helps serve as a matchmaking service for athletes and students.
So you brought up Deloitte, and again, we've been using the term fair market value, but whatever the term is they're using.
Range of compensation.
Range of compensation. Okay, but presumably it has something, it's in some way related to market value. Presumably, you would think that to try to ensure that it is something other than pay for play. How is that going to be? How is that enforced? How is that enforced? And is that subject to legal challenge saying, well, if I wanted to pay him that much and it's that much value to me, how can you say it's not? So how is that managed from that standpoint?
Yeah, I would say everything is subject to legal challenge, right? Like what in this world isn't? I would anticipate that there will be Title IX legal challenges around certain things. We've already seen a couple of objections to the back damage portion of the settlement based on that. We are all having to do an affirmation to be a part of the CFP structure that we're going to abide by the settlement. And there is subpoena power. And so what will happen is you submit a deal. Your status as a student athlete, what sport do you play? How good are you? How many minutes do you play? What's your status there? Your market, what command you have of that market. So one example I saw where that Graham Neff said, who's on the settlement implementation committee, and he's the athletic director at Clemson, Georgia Tech student athlete's going to get a different valuation than Georgia State, even though they're in the same market because Georgia Tech has better command of that market. And so Deloitte, I mean, if you know much about Deloitte, it's a massive company with loads and loads of data. It's an AI-based interface, and you just put the deal in, and it'll kick you out a range of compensation. So you have really three options. If you kick in a deal and the range of compensation is $100,000, and you had signed this deal for $200,000, you can either go back and make the deal $100,000. You could change the amount of activity that you were going to do for the $100,000, potentially to make more value creation there. Or you could shift some of that deal if that was part of the conversation with the student athlete, maybe to the rev share side if you can fit it in there. And if they're looking at what's my total take here, there are some opportunities and avenues to get that done, which is why those opportunities will continue to still be important.
Three Guys Before the Game is brought to us in part by Tudor's Biscuit World. Tudor's Biscuit World is asking you, what would you like to see in their merchandise department this coming fall? It's an open crowd-sourced search.
How about that?
And each week, for those that are saying here, and so what it's going to do, it's going to highlight the gear is going to highlight iconic features in the state of West Virginia and other areas where the Tudors brand is located. So all you have to do is go to votetudorsmerch.com, votetudorsmerch.com, and each week, just randomly, they'll select one person that took part in the survey, and they get a $100 Tudors gift card.
Are they still looking for franchisees?
Thank you. I'm glad you brought that up. In fact,
we need one in Cheat Lake.
Yeah, really. That's a really good point. There's a lot of stuff growing up over there in Cheat Lake. So they are, as a matter of fact, thank you. They have over 70 franchises, and right now they are looking for franchisees. If you'd like to engage with them, by all means, they'd be more than happy to talk with you. Also, Three Guys brought to us by Lou Wendell Marine Sales in St. Albans. And Wren justifiably pointed out that none of the three others of us here on this panel have received an invitation from Brad, who does have a pontoon boat, but Lou Wendell Marine Sales in St. Albans celebrating its 40th anniversary. They've stood the test of time.
Why are you shaming Brad?
They've stood the test of time.
Well, it's not
40
shaming.
40 years. They
I haven't been out.
They sell the Avalon pontoon boats, which are made 100% in the United States of America, in Michigan.
I care what he's saying.
Well,
So the Avalon Tri-Toon. So any kind of thing you need, Lou Wendell Marine. Look at that.
yet another business opportunity, because I will tell you, the lovely Miss Heather Baker, who has endured me for 20 years,
Right.
Really wants me to buy a boat. And I'm like, Heather,
Oh,
I've owned a boat.
go.
I've owned a boat before.
You have.
And if you can't use a boat regularly, it becomes a real problem. Because the maintenance of those, they're made to be used. And so, when I go on some of these trips, I took my girls to D.C. last year. And so we chartered a boat. Captain shows up. He's got cold drinks if you want one.
Sure.
Takes you out there around the Statue of Liberty. You take your pictures.
Wait, so you said you were in D.C., not New York.
I meant New York City.
Okay,
sorry,
fine.
I was in D.C. yesterday. So yeah, so New York City. So we went around Statue of Liberty, all that stuff. So I would like to charter a boat on Cheat Lake. I mean, I would, Brad could be the
perfect for you.
captain. The three guys,
Perfect for
Captain
you.
Baker.
yeah, just a day of, I can show up.
Yeah,
you
you
know.
can do that. Well, Lou Wendell Marine Sales
Work on
happens to
that.
have the most inventory that they have in the entire year is right now. So if you're looking, anything, I say this, from anchors to buoys to oil to whatever you
Depth
need.
finders, buoys on the side.
That big boat, that raft thing that you pull.
Side imaging.
Sure.
That's the cat's meow in fishing. You want the
really?
side imaging. Yeah, that tells you a little
where
more
the fish
about.
are.
I got great fishing boats down there at Lou Wendell too.
Yeah, they got the G3 John series.
Yeah, of course you knew that.
Can I expand on the potential of
Are
the...
we done Hawkins stuff right here?
We got more
For
later.
now, we'll come back here in
more
a few
later.
minutes.
We have our own revenue sharing issue here we got to deal with.
NIL stuff we got to get.
I see sometimes comments that you guys have too many advertisements, and I'm like, do you do know these guys? I mean, they only do this thing for the money.
Yeah.
Correct. 100%. I mean, we're the first to say that what we're trying to do is help
Capitalists.
businesses in West Virginia grow.
Which
That
we've done.
That popcorn that we gave you,
Which today is 50% off.
that Mountaineer
And sold
popcorn,
out. Don't listen to rest. Sold out.
That
Popcorn.
Mountaineer. No, the thing that's amazing, and I'm serious. Those kernels are grown in Shepherdstown, West Virginia. I mean, that is literally, the corn is grown in West Virginia. Those people do a wonderful job, and that's a small business.
That's unconfirmed.
No, it is.
No,
for real.
no,
that,
that's
that
confirmed.
actually is confirmed.
Look on the label there. It says grown in West. How about this deal?
It's the rare time when he confirms something before he said
Hey,
it.
listen. How about
Exactly.
this?
What
Listen.
about the strawberries?
Buchanan?
In Buchanan.
I got
Wren, don't bring that up because Tony will get us in trouble with that. Don't
Listen,
go there.
We've been on a nice run where he hasn't
Yes.
offended a group, so just don't
Let me
start.
just tell you how we changed.
By the way, I drove in through Buchanan on Saturday, or Sunday. Heather and I took off. I didn't know that we were getting all this flooding really, so we took off and we drove through Hodgesville. The trip we were going on, I wanted to drive through Helvetia.
Oh,
Sure,
yeah. Okay, yeah.
Went through Pickens, Hoppy. Are you familiar with Pickens?
I am. Yes.
Did you go near Maybe? Did you see the sign for Maybe?
Possibly.
I might have seen it, but come back through Elkins, and what's the little downtown bar and grill there that's pretty well known? CJ.
Okay. CJ
Maggie's.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah,
Right, yeah.
Had dinner at CJ Maggie's. So anyway, we just went on a drive. Thought, hey, we're going to go out and explore.
Right.
There's a great little winery in Pickens, by the way.
First I've heard of that.
Yeah. So Heather bought Miss Baker bought 4 bottles of wine there. But anyway, we went through Buchanan, and went through down the little downtown street there. What a gorgeous little downtown.
Yeah, it is.
Why would you disparage the strawberries there?
All I said was fact. All the strawberries that they serve at the Strawberry Festival aren't from Upshur County or from West Virginia. They bring them in from Florida. It's a fact, whether they like it or not.
GPS, last thing, I know we got to move on. Hoppy has more questions, but GPS took us down some dirt roads, and I'd have probably been scared if I
in
wasn't.
Upshur County?
Yeah, if I wasn't the athletic director at WU. I feel like if I can guarantee you tickets to the backyard brawl, I'll be fine.
All right, you can go.
But we kept seeing all these little blue, look like almost like an outhouse, and I'm like, what is this? But it's such a rural area, and they get so much weather. They're little schoolhouses that they put kind of at the end of the driveway or ever so often, where when you're waiting on the school bus.
Oh, for the bus.
There's actually a school in Pickens, by the way.
Tiny
K-12,
school. Yes.
24 students.
I was going to say smallest. Yeah, I
They're
always
fighting to keep the school alive. I think it's like an hour and a half for some of the students if that school closes to bus to the next closest school.
Well, you're
This
really
is like golden horseshoe stuff here.
It is.
Oh, he loves. I mean,
right? He's embracing.
I know.
the state.
I love to get out and learn. So
well, your other big thing was you bought that 4-wheeler, and you can drive from your house to Brewston Mills now.
Oh yeah, I've been to Screech Owl and
have you?
Oh yeah,
Yeah.
Takes his
Screech
4-wheeler
Owl.
there.
yeah.
You take your wait a minute.
Well, some people would call it. Some people call it. He might call it a 4-wheeler. Others might say it's a little bit higher end. It's like the G-Wagon of 4-wheelers.
Yeah, it's kind of like the Pope Mobile.
Yeah,
right? You're enclosed,
exactly.
enclosed within
It's
there.
bulletproof.
Yeah.
It's bulletproof.
They call it a Can-Am Defender, and it's a 6-seater. I actually got it from Parks here in town. They may not be with you guys. Maybe they should be.
They should be.
Working on it.
Yeah.
But to show you how small of a world we live in here in West Virginia, I like to negotiate a little bit. So we get to the end of the deal and we negotiate a little bit back and forth.
Sure.
A week later, I'm at lunch with Ike Morris, well-known
Glenville.
West Virginia.
Yeah, absolutely.
A very generous supporter to many causes, including WU athletics. And Ike says, hey, I hear that you're kind of a tightwad. I said, what are you talking about? He goes, well, my tractor guy says that you squeezed him a little hard on this deal.
Classic.
Tractor guy.
West Virginia.
Yeah.
Yep.
He thought I bought a tractor of some kind. I said, well, no, I didn't buy a tractor. It was but
How in the heck do you get to Screech Owl from your house? Do you go Snake Hill Road?
so I go down Cheat Lake Road.
Yeah.
So I paid the extra fee for mine to be street legal.
Oh, you are street
Yeah.
legal.
So I go down.
That's unusual in
I
this
go
state,
down Cheat Road.
Yeah.
And then right there before you get to the Cheat Lake Vet Hospital,
Yeah.
or it's either right before or right after, but there's Rock Quarry Road.
Yeah.
I think that's the name of it. You take it and you come out by the trout pond. You know about the trout pond?
This is
This
such
is
a
awesome.
West Virginia
This is good.
direction.
This is
exactly how you do it.
Exactly.
Yeah,
You know about
keep
the
going.
trout pond?
GPS isn't finding this.
Come out where Miss Johnson used to
Turn
live.
at the trout pond.
Yeah.
And then when you get so from the trout pond,
There's an old school
then
bus
you run
there.
parallel, right? You take a road all the way to Brewston. That's 2-lane road, runs parallel with the interstate. I don't even know what the road is.
Right.
It's got some
The old-
number.
the old
attached.
Brewston Road.
Old Brewston Road.
Yeah, old Brewston Road. That, and then at Brewston, you jet back over, across the interstate,
Yeah.
and take the first left down a county road, and from there you just pray to God you don't make a wrong turn. But
Yeah.
so Heather and
What's
I.
that trip take? time-wise?
40 minutes. I got a sound system put in my rig too.
Stunner. That's a stunner.
Last time I was out
four-wheeler description
on the
was not
way
accurate.
there, we listened to Randy Travis Essentials.
Old
RV.
school.
Yeah.
Taking
And
an RV.
on the way
Guys.
back, we did Keith Whitley.
I thought you'd come here a little Charles Wesley.
Listen, I always mix Charles Wesley in.
Yeah, that's good.
But so Heather and I just get on that thing, and then so one day we want to take the girls, but we thought, hey, Screech Owl's closed. Where we take them? So we found a place called The Scoop, little ice cream and diner place.
Heard of it.
Yeah, in Brewston. Also a hot spot. It's very West Virginia.
Got some machines.
Yeah.
Got a few machines in there.
Yeah, if the kids want to take their 2-scoop cone and go back and
Play a
let it
little bit.
ride a little bit, they can do that.
Of course, also video rentals and ammunition.
Yeah.
And bait.
Earthworms.
So the girls are a fan. Other than Reagan, she did an accounting of the ice cream flavors at the Scoop. It's a dozen or so, plenty to choose from.
Dozens enough.
But the Mountaineer Gun Shop
Here
in Morgantown has like 30 flavors.
Bit of a line there, is there this time of year? Bit of a line.
There is a bit of a line.
Yeah.
But they've got plenty of seats.
Plenty
out
of
front.
parking there, too,
Yeah,
though.
plenty of parking, plenty of seats.
Yeah.
And so Reagan still likes to get in the side by side and make a trip, but she'd prefer to get her ice cream. She wants a bigger variety of choices.
Too much
You know,
color.
we've been joking around here, but in all semi-seriousness, good for you, because that's really important. I'm glad you and your family are enjoying it, but that's also important to West Virginians that you embrace what we are, what it is, all the things. And there's a lot to enjoy here, and you're getting into it. So good for you and your family.
Yeah, we've seen a lot of cool stuff. In fact, I don't even know what road we were on. We took some road, and it did come out over by Chestnut Ridge Park. But I'm telling you, this road was rough. Like a couple times I was worried about the side-by-side making it.
Really?
And there was no way I thought we could see it was a through road. I would have bet any amount of money that there was no houses on that road. There actually was a house about midway on the road. I'm like, man, they have a rough commute into work every day. But we have seen so many cool things and have already started exploring like other places that we can go. It's therapeutic. You learn, and that's important, but it's therapeutic for me to just kind of get out and get away from everything and just ride and listen to some tunes.
Good for you.
I think what it does is it further underscores you get the significance of what WVU athletics means to people. When you get into those areas, it still matters there. Yeah. Like those are incredibly passionate fans. They're there, and so you need to go kind of see them. We get isolated in here and you just kind of lose sight. We see it best on the Caravan.
Yeah.
Where we go all over the place and you can just see this incredible support so far away from Morgantown.
Heather, my wife, takes way, way too many photos. And she'll take 6 of the same. I'm like, why don't you just pick the one that you like best? Like, why do you need 6 of these? And then she can never find the ones that she needs because there's too many others. But she took a lot of photos, speaking of that, on Sunday, and we were on the road. We left the house a little before lunch, and we didn't get back till 8 o'clock or so.
That was a trip.
Yeah, so we were out for a while. But we'd just be in the middle of nowhere, and there's a West Virginia flag.
Oh, I know.
Absolutely.
That's undefeated
Or
all
somebody
time.
with a West Virginia cap or a West Virginia shirt.
Yeah.
If I may. Or you want to go?
No, go ahead.
All right. So back to some of the subjects in it, although I did enjoy hearing your stories.
I don't think he did, really.
I absolutely did.
Don't placate him.
No, I did. Is that you're making the argument. I've heard you're making the argument. I think you've said it here, but you're making the argument that WVU, in its entirety of the investment in athletics on a number of levels, is below the median of the Big 12. Okay. So taking those facts, which I guess either you all worked them up or from the consulting firm worked it up. Yeah. So that being the case, if you are not able to do all of the things or most of the things you want to do, does that relegate WVU athletics to the bottom tier of the Big 12?
No, but it does mean that we have to be very careful in how we invest and where we invest. And we've been really, really fortunate to have some wonderful donors who will step up and do those projects that we cannot just fund in the budget. But, let's we just finished baseball season, and congratulations to the regional champ Mountaineers, and we run into a little bit of a buzzsaw at LSU, but we've seen so have a lot of other people. Great job by Coach Sabins in year one. But every year we have massively increased our revenues in baseball, but we've also, at probably an equal or greater amount percentage-wise, increased our expenses. And the problem is you started with a greater expense line than you did revenue line. So, I'm hearing a lot now, well, we have to make sure that we keep baseball in a position to compete, and we definitely will. But when your budget is in the lower third or so of the league, when you make a choice to fund something at the midpoint or higher in the league, that comes at the expense of other things, and which is what you're getting to. And so you're constantly having to pick and choose, and it's why Rev Share moved to the top of most important things that we need to do. But on the heels of Rev Share, we've got to increase scholarships. If you're following college athletics, the scholarship limits have been taken away and replaced with roster limits, but it allows a lot more scholarships. So that'll be the next thing that we really turn our focus and attention to, and already are in many regards. And we still underspend in some other areas. So when you said earlier you have $110 million budget, you can find $20 million. That becomes tougher when you're trying to create comparable experiences, and you already spend less on travel and many times coaching salaries. I've said this before. I've seen a couple athletic departments that are going to try and reduce their labor force by 10% in terms of the number of people. We already are one of the smallest in the Big 12. We were the smallest. I don't know with the addition of the new schools if we still are. And so if you enjoy the videos that we put out and you enjoy the social media, those all take manpower, and it takes FTEs to do those things. It takes FTEs to provide sports medicine care and strength and conditioning coaches and proper nutritionists. And so it is
FTE full-time equivalent. FTE, what's FTE?
Yeah, full-time equivalency of employees. And so I think there is a challenge for us, but it's why growing this premium seating is so important. Because if you look at where we stack up in other metrics, what we make from ticket sales and the number of tickets that we sell, and what we make from donations that aren't tethered to premium seats, what our multimedia rights are, we are very comparable in all of those categories, but we have to create some high premium, high return opportunities to change our paradigm for the future. And so that really is, I try and tell people all the time, coaches will come in and say, well, can we do X? And I always say, we can do anything, we can't do everything, because all of these levers are connected. So anywhere where we pull a lever, let's just say we want to be in the top fourth of the 16-team Big 12, so we're number 4. When your aggregate is 12, that pushes some things to 15, right, or 16. It just is the way that it works. And so, but the last thing I will say is this is not a new problem. This has been a developing problem. And if you look at our success over the last 2 or 3 years, it's been incredible. Rifle championship, runner-up in cross country. Our Coach Cleary's doing a tremendous job with that program. Men and women's soccer continue to have tremendous success. Baseball, our women's basketball program has been incredible. You just go across. Men's basketball had a really strong bounce back year this year.
Should have been an NCAA tournament team.
That's no question. No question about that.
First reported here.
Yeah. And so I think our coaches and student athletes and our fans who create a great home court advantage and help and home field advantage and help create a great sense of pride about the program they all contribute to that. And so I always try to remind people we don't have to be number 1. We do need to get our budget to where it's in the top half of the league. And if we do that, I am confident we can compete at the top end of the Big 12 across the board.
Let's do roster limits for just a second. Take baseball in particular, because I'm still not sure everybody understands how that works, that there's 25 guys on the roster, but there's not 25 full scholarships. There's 11.7, 12.7?
Yeah.
So how does that change or work in the new world going forward?
So as part of the settlement, I think the powers that be recognized that the next big challenge was going to be, why do you have these scholarship limits in place? And these scholarship limits were put into place several years ago for two things. One, to create Title IX equity, because you need to be funding proportionally to your student body, both the number of opportunities and the number of scholarships. And so that's why women's basketball is allowed 15 scholarships, men's basketball is allowed 13. There you get a few more in women's golf than men's golf. They're trying to, create a system balanced Title IX. The other thing,
because football creates a huge imbalance.
It creates a huge imbalance. Yeah. The other thing that happens was it was a cost containment measure. Literally in the 80s, the NCAA passed a package called the cost containment package. And so when you're running afoul of antitrust issues, it's reasonable to expect that a package called the cost containment package is probably up on deck somewhere. So as you're looking at doing this big settlement to try to settle a lot of these issues, they said, you know what, we really probably can't defend the scholarship limits, but we do. All of the antitrust attorneys feel like roster limits is very defendable. They already are in place. Every sport in the United States has a roster limit. A lot of them have travel squad size, or practice squads, whatever the case may be. So they put in roster limits. For some sports, it's a little aggressive. It's having to change. You've seen some of the football coaches around the country chirping about it. It's having to change the way that they're thinking. But they did away with the scholarship limit. So in baseball, I believe they could have had previously 40. Okay, 40 kids on the roster as of first competition in the spring. They had 11.7 scholarships. So their new roster number, and there's so many numbers in my head, so if I get something wrong, don't send me some hateful email. But I believe their new roster number is 34, but the scholarship limit's gone. So in theory, you could give 34 scholarships. However, the settlement says any new scholarships you give up to the first $2.5 million, that comes off your $20.5 million rev share. And so and there's no standardized system in how people are doing it. So we have not added scholarships right now, but what we did do, the other bucket that exists out there is the Alston Financial Awards. So a few years ago, Alston, which was one of our student athletes, filed a suit to become a class action suit, and you can give academic incentives, and it's really up to you what parameters you put on that. And so long as 5980, that's the max, doesn't get excelled. So we had a system in place at the athletic department, give out a certain number of those. And then we put parameters on. You had to have certain GPA, whatever the case may be. And then your coach could come on top of that if they wanted to and put additional parameters up. They had some autonomy there. And you didn't have to give 5980 to everybody. You could say, Brad, I'm going to give you academic incentive of $1,000 each semester, but here's what you have to do to earn it. So most everybody in this new world did away with those because that also counts against your cap. We elected to since we weren't going to add new scholarships, to keep the Alston in place. We did that for two reasons. One, I told our coaches we were going to try to not cut anything from anybody. And in fact, we actually increased what we spent on Alston. Two, we removed all of our restrictions. And so basically the only thing that you have to do from the athletic department standpoint is be enrolled, and you're subject to get this. And so with a sport like wrestling, whose rev share number is smaller, but who some of the individual athletes in wrestling can command some pretty good size packages. They can almost treat if they need that Alston to be scholarship, they can treat it that way. But if they need it to be a cash payment, they can layer it on top of scholarship. And so that's what we've done for this year. I envision, and the reason why we didn't dabble in both worlds is we didn't want two debits against our cap, right? We didn't want Alston and new scholarship. So we said, hey, we're going to stay with Alston because we think it gives our coaches the most flexibility. I think going into next year, we will probably try to convert that Alston into financial aid and scholarship and even increase that. So that's, I got a little bit nuanced there, but that's kind of the whole thing with scholarships. But I do envision, I don't know that every kid on a baseball roster, for instance, needs to be on a full scholarship, but we probably, by the time we get to next fall, that 11.7 number, and they probably have another 5 right now if you added in like what the equivalency would be for their Austin allocation, but they probably need at least 20 to 25 scholarships to remain nationally competitive by the next fall.
Does the university charge the athletic department in-state tuition rates or out-of-state tuition rates?
Yeah, so right now they charge us out-of-state, but then they end up waiving that out-of-state portion on the back end, and so we get a bill that we pay, but then we get a credit for $4.2 million, which is roughly what our out-of-state portion would be. But one of the things that we're having conversations around right now is if you would just make the universe of athletes all eligible for in-state tuition, that is very helpful in a variety of ways. One is that it reduces the expense that we're paying.
Mm-hmm.
But 2, if you're allocating a dollar amount to your coaches, it's going to make that dollar amount go further if they're not having to spend a lot more for out-of-state kids. And in a state like West Virginia, where we don't have a real high population, thus we don't produce a lot of Division I power conference prospects, we're going to always have a lot of out-of-state enrollees. And so that would be very, very helpful for us. I've had conversations with President Gee, who's exiting here, but also with President Benson, who are both supportive. It's just trying to figure out penciling it, because again, as Hoppy indicated earlier, the institution's financial position has been really tough, and it's easy for me to say, well, don't charge me out of state, but they are right now. And so that's coming in as a revenue stream. So if it's one of those things. If I own a house on the beach and you guys want to use it for free, if I couldn't sell it to somebody else, it doesn't cost me anything. But if I already had it sold to somebody else, that's costing me something. And so it's kind of like that. It's still lost revenue to the institution at this point because they are collecting it, and we just have to figure that out.
Three Guys Before the Game is brought to us in part by GoMart. All of us, I don't know about Wren, but we all have the GoMart app. And Brad,
he's a regular,
uses it regularly. And right now, if you have that app on your phone, let me just hit you with a couple of things. $1 off 2 Tic Tacs, $1 off 2 Jolly Rancher or Twizzler bags. How about this? $1 off 2 king-size Kit Kat, Payday, Hershey, Reese cups, $1 off 2 waters.
Hold on. See, that's what I was going to tell you. You got to get on there because those Reese peanut butter cups, you're a fan as well.
Oh, yeah, massive fan.
Those are on special a lot via this app. So it's going right now? Is that what you just said?
Yeah, right now. $1 off 2 Snapples, $1 off a case of water. Get the GoMart app. Immediately begin saving on your food and fuel. Go for good times.
By the way, there's that Kit Kat slipping in there, big candy hitting that Kit Kat. Remember I told you during
Yes.
Halloween, the Kit Kats have risen in the last couple of years, which I'm
of-
a fan of. I like the Kit Kats.
Speaking of great peanut butter treats, which Tony has rode with me enough to know I'm a massive fan of anything and all things
How
peanut
can that
butter.
be? Look at you. You're wasting away to nothing. How can that be?
Hoppy. I have
Stress.
a wife at home that
pick your
just-
spots.
Yeah.
Personal attack. I think go to HR on him.
Yeah, I probably should. So Heather has asked me what I wanted for anniversary, and I'm really simple. I want the same thing every time. When I was in school, they made these little treats. They called them Pioneer bars. It was just,
I haven't heard of
It's
this.
just like a probably size of a thumbnail of peanut butter with a layer of chocolate on top.
Can't go wrong.
So if you just Google cafeteria peanut butter bars, which I have done and tried multiple recipes, I think I have the best one. I could probably get.
So you're
that
making these at
to show.
home?
Heather makes them at home, and they're incredible.
Real peanut butter or the PB mix? You want real peanut butter in there?
I think it's real peanut butter. Yeah.
All right.
Heather in the kitchen, pretty good.
Yeah. Let's not go there.
Ouch.
No, I didn't say she wasn't.
Ouch.
I just said let's.
Wow. Thank you very much.
My goodness.
Hey, listen,
Are we done? We're going to end on that?
20 years. It's been a
20
great
years.
run.
It was a good run. As Heather
Hold on,
said,
Tremendous effort in
We're
the
not
kitchen.
done.
Incredible.
I just wanted to
You were
hit
just
the
doing a
music
stinger.
Yeah, just
Is
jacking
that-
around.
Another question.
We got a lot more questions. We're just starting.
Okay.
We're just getting the mics warmed up.
All right, here's an easy one. What's going on with the calendar? A lot of
does that
debate and questions right now with the calendar overall in college athletics. Where do you think that lands? What happens?
Well, I definitely think it's going to land on one portal period.
When do you think that portal period will be?
and only during that time.
January? Is that a summer portal period? Is it too early? It's too early to give a
so I'm
definitive
going to
answer.
take us down a little bit of a rabbit hole here to tell you why there's a debate. I think it ends up being in January.
Okay.
But there are some high-resource institutions out there. So you've heard the term thrown around, I'm sure, of front-loading. So we had this unregulated period before the settlement went into place, and so everybody was doing these deals where they paid athletes up front. It exploded the market, like all of these things. Different people did different amounts of front loading. We've done some front loading, but not as much as some other institutions. Some institutions have done the vast majority of their roster is all front loaded. So they're sitting on their $20.5 million rev share, and particularly their football portion and they're thinking, hey, we're going to clean up in this portal because we haven't used any of that. We've reserved some of our rev share, but not near as much as some other institutions. We've had to use a lot of it too, and so I think most of that. That concept occurred in the Southeastern Conference, big shocker. And so the Big Ten's really pushing for an April portal period for those reasons. And so, but I think if you just look holistically at what is the best date, take that aside, I think most people would say January makes the most sense. I think that's where this lands. I don't believe you can create rules and a system for what is a one-time kind of anomaly that we're already having to deal with it. Let's just get through this next year and put the portal period where it makes the most sense. And I think where it makes the most sense is in that December-January timeline.
Does that then change the signing date? Is signing date wrapped into portal opening? It seems like December doesn't make a lot of sense for all this to happen, right?
Yeah, I think January is when it makes the most sense. And listen, people talk about, well, there's a disadvantage and advantage if you're on a quarter system or if, those schools get an advantage. Well, you can't create what got us here in the first place is trying to create something that was equal there, but it's impossible to do that. And so I think you have to look at what makes sense for the greater good, and what makes sense for the greater good is one portal window, and probably what's most fair to the student athletes is it being in January.
Where do you stand on the ongoing discussion regarding the college football playoff 16-team format? SEC wants 4, the Big Ten wants 4, ACC and Big 12 are being told you get 2 and you'll like it.
Yeah, I think it's really important that we push back on that. And listen, I've seen the numbers. Being guaranteed 2, there's some security in that. Our average over the last 10 years, if you pull Oklahoma and Texas out, so we've had an analytics company that's run the numbers, so we know what our number would be with our current league composition. And it would have been 2.2. But 2.2 means some years you get 3, some years you get 1. So having at least 2 ensures that you always have at least 2. And so the years you get 3, it's gravy. But the problem is with each one beyond 2, it's a multiple of 2. And here's why. On that third spot, you're going to have two teams play for that spot on championship weekend. So your champ game participants 1 and 2 are going to play for your championship and for seeding, but you're probably going to give them those first 2 AQs. But then your third AQ, you can have 3 and 6 play for that, and your fourth AQ, you can have 4 and 5 play. So in essence, you create a wild card type game, and you have 6 teams in. And so then when you turn back around And you look at the revenue share, which, those two leagues have already pushed and received an unequitable revenue share based on performance. Well, we have a look-in in there, and the whole premise was that we would have an opportunity to build up football in the Big 12 and maybe earn a more proportionate revenue share during the look-in. Well, if they're able to do that, then they've cooked the books. And so I think even though some people would look at it and say, gosh, you guys are idiots, you could have guaranteed yourself always 2 and you might have more some years. I just think, one, America doesn't want it. It's not fair. It to me it just goes against everything that sports is about. I think you earn it on the field. But then also, when I look at it, even though in the 5+11, the SEC could get 6 or 7 teams in. I get it. And how we land on these metrics is really important. And there's a big difference between 8 conference games versus 9, or 9 P4 games versus 10. Those things should all be weighed heavily. But I just think when you look at the totality of it, the 4-4-2-2 should be a non-starter for the Big 12 and ACC.
So
I don't know where you guys were on that. You guys agree?
Totally agree.
Completely agree.
Agree, especially with the last statement you said. That's just not how sports work.
Yeah.
It's not how it works.
And don't want to get to the point where the Big 12, I mean not the Big, but the SEC and the Big 10 are dictating how it all works.
Yeah.
So the college athletes, particularly in the football and basketball, are paid, and they're performing a service for an entity. Yet they are not defined as employees. And the House settlement did not address the issue of whether they are employees. And we talked to Mike Florio yesterday, and Florio said the schools really don't want them to be classified as employees because that would further, they're already getting paid, but that would further empower them, and they would have more say in practices and conditions and things like that. So as an athletic director, are you in a position where you also do not want them to be classified as employees, or you would be okay with them being classified as employees?
I probably reside somewhere in the middle on this because I feel like the exercise of some form of collective bargaining is the only way to really fix this and end this madness. And as somebody who has to live and breathe this every day, it is mentally, emotionally, physically exhausting. When you say, do you think it'll withstand legal challenges? I don't know. I think the settlement was a really good thing, a good first step. How good? Nobody knows. Courts will decide. So that will be determined. And I would just love to have an answer. And I think the only way to have an answer is to sit at a table and bargain. Now, the people who think that college athletics leadership are just trying to hold the athlete benefits down, I think had we sat at a table and bargained, they would have done worse than what the House settlement actually got them. I think plaintiffs' counsel did a really good job of protecting everything that they had, and not allowing them to have anything reduced and giving them a significant revenue share. But employment has massive ramifications. It makes sense for football and basketball. But when you go down the road of employment and you bring on those kind of benefits and those kind of processes, for instance, if you need to move on from an employee, you have to a lot of times do a plan of improvement, and you got to give them 6 months to fix those things. And, that is problematic and different. But I think the biggest issue that campuses have is you can't just make football and men's basketball employees. You would be making all of your sports employees. But beyond that, you also then set a precedent for the band to be employees, for the theater kids to be employees, for all these other campus organizations where it truly doesn't pencil. So you look at WVU's financial position, you look at transformation and the things that we had to cut and how upsetting that was to a lot of people. The amount of student experiences that would be cut if you made all these clubs and organizations and groups on campus employees would be massive, because it doesn't make financial sense to do some of those things. And then at some point you get to a place where I believe college is in part what's in the books, but I think more than what you find in the books, it's really about what you discover in yourself during those times. When I think back about what I learned in college, yes, I had some great professors that taught me great things, but I learned so much more about myself by going through the experiences of college than like if you were to give me the test of any class I took, I don't think I could pass it right now. But I do remember those experiences, and those experiences taught me a lot. And so if you start to diminish, forget athletics for a minute, you start to diminish those experiences across campuses, what do we need campuses for? We could get the world's best chemistry professor on Zoom right now and could Zoom with 10 million people at once. And so why do you need to go to a bricks and mortar campus if you're and learn from a professor who may be great but isn't the world's foremost expert, if not for those experiences? And so it's really presidents and campuses that are saying the precedent that this would set to go down the employment route could end in catastrophe for the student experience, which we know when you look at student retention rates, their involvement in clubs and organizations, their involvement in going to sporting events, like students who are more involved stay in and have much higher graduation rates than the kid who just sits in their dorm room by themselves and ends up dropping out. And so I just think that's a really important thing that a lot of people at home miss. It's not just about why don't you want them to be employees, Wren Baker, athletic director. I'm much less averse to that. It's about the precedent of making them employees and what that impact could be long-term for campus. So I think that's why when we talk about wanting some kind of federal bill, if part of that federal bill was we're going to give you some limited antitrust protection, but we're going to make student athletes a special class where they aren't employees, but they do have the ability to collectively bargain, I think we could work this out.
Yeah,
That's
and so
winner.
there's the way to get that part done without affecting all those others. That's what I was just going to say. Is there a way to get to that point?
Yes. That'll finally add some stability to the whole mess. It'll stop being a mess.
Yes.
Three Guys Before the Game is brought to us by Comax Business Systems. If you're looking for a refreshing upgrade for your office, Ren, you're a big water drinker. Ren puts stuff into his water. Like he'll get a water, but he'll put stuff.
Yeah,
Comax
electrolytes and such.
Right.
It's good for you.
Their new water cooler systems provide crisp, clean water at the push of a button, which provides hydration. So if you're a business owner, you can put one of these bad boys in your house. Say goodbye to the heavy bottles. Hello to convenience. Any size business. Coolers are eco-friendly, easy to maintain. Discover more. ComaxWV.com. That's ComaxWV.com. And proud to be sponsored by Jan Dills, attorneys at law based in Parkersburg, doing business in 48 of our 50 states. When it comes to Social Security disability benefit claims, military disability benefit claims, they are the absolute best. That's what they do every single day. So if you or someone that you know needs help in that world of filing for benefits, Social Security or military disability benefits, they're the folks. Start with them. Brad likes the numbers, and I say it oftentimes, 88% of all Social Security disability claims are rejected first time through. 88%. So grab a hold of the hands of the folks at Jan Dills, attorneys at law. They will guide you through, and you will be in a much better position to get your claim approved.
What if you file a claim and you're told no? And you go to
They
jail?
don't take no for an answer.
That's what I thought.
It's kind of simple. Ren, you were out.
Well, before you start, go ahead.
No, go ahead.
I was just going to say, you were talking about water consumption. Tony and I were on top of this. Brad's aware of this massive issue that we have in the Coliseum.
Uh-oh. What's that?
So Coliseum, inside the men's basketball locker room is a cooler with some beverages in it.
Waters, stuff.
And there's Smart Water, which the three of us could definitely use. But the labels are removed off all the Smart Waters. And Smart Water is kind of a bougie water. So those labels are on there. There's a lot of it. Sometimes you grab a water from like Sam's Club and it just falls off, right? Like they don't.
Bad
All due
labels.
respect, of course, to the Sam's Club labels.
All
Yeah.
due respect.
All due respect.
But these Smart Water,
Yes.
like they try and keep. So this adhesive is very sticky.
Very sticky.
And so about every other game, I'll grab a bottle of water, and I'll come out and I will be griping about why do we do this?
Very sticky.
And
Like Lester Hayes of the old Raiders days. You come out and just get your.
Be great. Gaylord Perry would love the stickiness.
And so I've started asking around, like, hey, how did Coca-Cola, who I'm drinking the Coca-Cola
A sponsor.
Sponsored Dasani water right now, did they say something? And if they did, that's fine. We probably should be drinking their waters all the time. Probably should get rid of the smart waters.
Right.
But what I think happened is sometime along the way, somebody, probably Brad, when he was running marketing, said, "Hey, well, you guys need to peel these labels off." And then I think it's just being handed down from one manager to the next.
Yep.
And now we're just
sticky bottles of water.
We're like sheeple. We're just following the flock, and we're just and so I told Tony, I actually called one of our new basketball assistants, Johnny Estelle, over after practice. I said, Johnny, I need you to do me a favor. I want you to do an informal survey here and find out if anybody knows why we removed the labels off these bottles of water.
Mm-hmm. Well, that's why you answered it. Just stick with the Dasani.
I agree.
Stick with the Dasani.
It's a great. And
if we're not going to remove the label, then just those other brands get completely out of the facility. And as somebody who sits
beside you guys most games, the smart water is not really improving the cognitive function.
Hey, while you were on vacation, we did a 3 guys event, and I wish you were there.
Did Hoppy ride a motorcycle?
So, thank you for asking. Oh, I just hit my button. I just shrunk. Hang on a sec. Hey, Jakey, baby, get some of those pictures up there. Yeah, did he ride a bike? Check this stuff out. There we are on stage interviewing these dudes. These are the Lawrence brothers who happen to be 2 of the biggest on the circuit. They are from Australia. They now make their home in the United States.
Was this motocross racing?
Yes, sir.
Yes. 250s. I've been to a lot of. My brother raced motocross when he was in junior high, so I've been to a lot of motocross events.
250s and 450s. Go ahead. You can flip through that, Jake. There we are just before Hoppy got onto his bike. He looked look at him. I mean, he was ready to go. And
you're supposed to have the padded pants, like
don't worry,
they're made by Thor or something like that.
Go ahead.
Jeans.
Hit that again. There is.
That's not
Hoppy is not in that.
There's the field of competition that Hoppy had to face.
Get out of my way.
Yeah.
Taking the field.
And there was so that was awesome. They have this great family event where the little kids can run on the grass there, and it was really cute to see.
Where was this?
Over at right over the border.
Just Mount Morris.
Yeah, there's our guy, Mr. Coombs, along with Hoppy. That's the bike that Hoppy rode. And
it's actually a good shot of you, Hoppy. You look like you absolutely know what you're doing right now.
It looks like that's about an 80cc.
It was an electric. It was not motorized, and it did not have gears. I was looking forward to changing gears.
Oh, it was electric.
It's electric.
Yeah, he just turned.
So you just had to steer.
Yeah. So those motocross, I think they used to come like in 80cc, 125, and 250.
Correct. These are 250s and 450s. Okay. And it was fantastic. It was a great event.
You guys had no idea of my knowledge. You should have.
No, it was good.
It was very good.
Anything else, Jake? You can just kind of go through it. Well, yeah. Oh, so you know that young lady? She is the backup mountaineer.
Yeah.
The Morgans.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. She was front and center, and you see that shirt he's wearing.
Additional
Efforting.
mountaineer.
He's a
He's an
efforting.
Additional.
The alternate. I gotta call her alternate mountaineer.
Tim, Sean,
they're great.
Additional mountaineer.
Yeah. Hoppy, see, but on those shirts they made for us, our names are on the back, and all of our sponsors are literally all of the 3 guys' sponsors are on the front.
Very NASCAR-ish.
That's as good of activation as I've seen from an event organizer to do those shirts.
That's
unbelievable.
That shirt's a Thor shirt. That's a great brand. Fox is another one Fox makes some great gear.
This was the trophy that Tony presented to me.
That trophy is the world. No, seriously, that's the world. Each country races against each other each year. Australia won last year, and this year it's in Indiana coming up in October. But that is like the Stanley Cup of motocross.
That's the World Championship trophy.
That is the world.
They don't have the video of my ride? Is that not available?
Jake, do you have the video of his ride? If you do, we'll run that. But Hoppy,
I can't believe I have seen that video make the rounds on social media this week. I can't believe you would want to show that. But let's run
harsh,
it.
Man. That's harsh.
What? Let's go.
But listen, but wait, there's more.
I was impressed.
Thank you, Brad.
I appreciate it.
I was really happy.
Thank you.
Oh, by the way, they also let him to kick the event off on Friday. This thing's massive, right? This is thousands and thousands and thousands of people over the weekend.
National event.
Yeah, like 20 or 30,000 people. they let him read or
Recite
the Pledge of Allegiance over the entire PA system to start it. Knocked it out.
Well, they asked for volunteers. Nobody stepped up.
So you said, "Give me the mic."
Does Hoppy pause at the right place? You know, there's some people get real offended if you pause.
No, he drilled it.
There is a cadence to it.
Yeah, he drilled it. But listen, if motocross isn't your thing, you're going to like this. On July the 19th, second year in a row, Stonewall Resort, WVU Medicine, WVU Cancer Institute having a golf tournament.
Oh, yeah.
Because they have a young man who passed away who was a student here, died of blood disease, and they have this event for him. Jake, hit that baby up there. So we're going. If you'd like to join us, it's going to sell out. There's going to be 120.
Is that where you did the bench for Coach Stewart last year?
Yes.
We did.
Very good.
Exactly.
Yes.
He doesn't miss
a beat.
He doesn't miss a beat.
So that date's what, July 19th?
July 19. Brad and I will be there. We'll have some special guests with us in process. I think we're also going to do a Play the Pro. I think Nate Adrian's going to be on one of the par threes.
Awesome.
Nate will hit a shot, you hit a shot, see how you do it. But tickets are available for that, and we'll be there, and we're very much
will Brad have his pontoon boat there at the lake?
There is a pond. It's very
Great
good.
lake to have a pontoon.
That's a great thing.
So real quick, that's a golf event. You mentioned at 120 that will sell out. So if you're interested, get in. And then afterwards, we'll do a question and answer session with
three guys. Yeah.
Special guest.
I sense you're getting ready to wrap up. Can I ask one other thing?
No.
Okay.
Go ahead.
Go ahead, Hop.
So
I hope it's an easy one.
I mean, it's seriously this legal pad that he brought with him.
He just went to page 2.
Treasure trove.
So
I love your questions, by the way. You take them so damn serious, like, Mr. Committee Chairman, prior to your arrival.
the naming rights, which West Virginia WVU is behind in the whole naming rights thing. So I get it. I understand it. You need the revenue. So do you envision? It's a two-part question. Do you envision it would be called? And I just make it up, like the Go-Mart Coliseum or Go-Mart
Three Guys Coliseum
or Go-Mart Field, and how do you think that West Virginia fans are going to react, because it's Mountaineer Field, and it's the WVU Coliseum, and you may know this. You've been around West Virginia a little bit now. As the West Virginians are a little bit hesitant on change. So how's that going to go down?
Well, so with the Coliseum, historically it's been WVU Coliseum, and so I think with that one, Three Guys Coliseum, we would go with it, and we might get a little pushback, but I don't think people are as endeared to that name as they are Mountaineer Field. I haven't done a survey, but I feel fairly confident saying that. I think with Mountaineer Field, we would probably try to encourage somebody to leave Mountaineer in there, so Three Guys Mountaineer Field, something like that. But I know that West Virginians get endeared to tradition, but I'll tell you something else that I have found that West Virginians are pretty endeared to is winning. And so if somebody, if it pencils at an amount that makes sense for us to do, we have to look at it, even if it slightly adjusts some of the things on tradition. And you guys know with me, I'm always pretty honest and candid about those things. And so, so that's probably how I would answer that.
Okay, thanks.
Hey, so you guys were talking about the resort and the lake. So quick story that Tony's heard too many times, but my wife has a convertible 1979.
I can't wait. I want to hear how things have gone. Yeah.
MG car.
Really?
Yeah. Her father left it to her.
Okay.
He passed away, I think 3 years ago, of mesothelioma. Great man, but he loved to tinker with stuff. He was a fix-it man.
Okay.
And so he loved this car. I am not a fix-it man. And I don't love to tinker with anything.
Yeah, go fix it.
Yeah. And so this car has been the source of probably 80% of mine and my wife's tense discussions over the last 3 years.
Really?
I'm like, and I remember early on, I could see where this was headed, and I said, hey, your dad, like more than anything, he would want you to be safe. So I will let's take this car and sell it, and I'll buy any convertible you want, because your dad would not want you to take off in an automobile that's not reliable.
Sure, really.
And she dead looked me in the eye. And Tony knows Heather. She's pretty easygoing. And she said, "You will never sell my daddy's car."
Okay, there you go.
So
that's awesome.
Know where we stand.
So so we know where we're at. And I've spent a lot of money on this car. So anyway, finding somebody that works on these cars is very, very difficult.
Right.
So I won't go through every step, but I called somebody in town here. They used to work on them, but the guy retired. Call this guy at Point Marion Road. No, we don't work on them anymore, but you should call this guy in Fairmont. That guy says, "Yeah, we don't actually work on those anymore." But you should call this guy in Horner, West Virginia.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Horner. It's near Weston. Not too far from Jane Lou, where Rita Rodriguez
Nice Jane
is
Lou
from.
reference.
Correct. Yeah.
Jane Lou reference.
Bad
Cell service isn't
cell
great in Jane
service.
Lou, though. But we like Jane
Terrible
Lou, but cell
cell
service isn't good. But go ahead.
So, anyway, the guy there, Robert is his name. I don't know if he's a Three Guys listener. He's originally from England, so I don't know. But anyway,
We're big internationally. He probably is.
Yeah, he grew up working on these cars and did an unbelievable job. Has the car up and running. It's great. So we drove there, and so while we were there, we just drove around a little bit, and we end up going on this road, and there's a little lake called Stone Coal Lake.
Mm-hmm.
Beautiful.
What is it?
little lake.
Stone Cold?
Stone Cold.
Like the wrestler?
No, that would be even better. But Stone Cold, like coal.
COAL.
Yeah.
Okay, not cold.
Yeah. So anyway, so shout out to, there's some homes there. A couple of WVU flags was up, but beautiful little lake. I don't know if there's, if it's open to the public, but it was a gorgeous little neighborhood in and around there.
Car is
great.
working?
Yeah, so I drove there. All the highway patrolmen, please don't listen. I drove there probably going 85. I know that's a little about the speed limit. Coming back, we were going like 60.
Wait a minute.
You had a headwind situation?
Because I was following the wife and this car.
Oh,
You're
okay.
driving
you went
DMG.
down to get it and had to drive it back home.
Yeah, so I had it towed down there.
Okay, understood.
Jeez.
All right, there we go.
Wow.
So Heather and I rode together to go get it.
Okay.
Yeah.
And she's like, "I'll see you at home." And I'm like, "I have no faith that this car's not going to break down. I'm not going to leave you on the side of the road, so I'll just follow
All due
you."
respect to Robert, of course.
And I was texting her and calling her and saying, "Hey, like, can we
faster,
go
yeah.
faster?" So anyway, I looked it up, because I told her at some point on the way home, I called her and said, "When we get home, I'd like to race your car in my side by side," kind of trying to be demeaning to the car. And I looked it up, and the side by side does have more horsepower. So so
you better tread lightly there.
I backed away.
So it's an
Next time you
car.
need help, we of course have listeners to the show that are master mechanics.
Oh, yeah.
I've had major lawnmower trouble that not many people could have fixed.
Those guys
yeah.
build like
Had some
rockets.
guys, they build race cars.
Oh, yeah.
Came up and fixed my mower problem. That was
they're
a
down
very
around.
unique
They're
problem.
down around Huntington.
Hey,
I know
Not
those
many
guys.
people had
Hey.
the lawnmower
Hey.
problem I have. My guys fixed
Hey.
it.
It was just a
He knows them.
spark plug.
Yeah,
It was-
I met them.
Yeah, I know that. I know.
In the Law School Hill lot.
Yeah.
They're all they do. That's what they go. They're awesome.
Yeah.
But really unique lawnmower situation that they handled. So if you need help,
They
wasn't-
they introduced themselves that way. I was walking Law School Hill. Just I try to walk all of the lots over the course of the season. So it was late in the season, my first year here. I'm walking. I stop and talk to people. We get to talking, and they start telling me a little bit about what they do. I said, "Wait a second, are you the guys that fixed Brad's lawnmower?"
yes,
You mean they changed
geez.
this? You mean they told him that the battery was dead?
they
That
fixed
one?
the lawnmower.
That the one that they said your battery's dead, dumbass.
Major
That's what they
problems
said.
with the lawnmower. They fixed it.
Yeah, it was
That's
a
what
dead
I know.
battery.
You have a car problem, don't go to Brad.
They came all the way up, fixed it. Geniuses, those guys.
You don't need Robert, the guy with the English accent, to figure that one out.
You need John and Jason. Got them.
That's cool. I like that. My brother had an MG. Those are cool.
Does he want another one?
Those were cool.
I think that we've established, Wren, that is not up for negotiation. Your wife, you say I've never met her. You say she's a wonderful
She's wonderful.
person. And
Wonderful.
this
Wonderful
is one,
cook.
This
We
is,
established.
well,
It sounds like you just take that one. You take the L and move on.
Yeah, you take that. You take that. Does it have a seatbelt?
Yes.
Okay.
So
Those are little
I
cars.
shouldn't go in all this. I know we probably got to wrap. We've gone a long time, but
no, we're fine.
so her father's funeral was in Texas. We went to the funeral. I had on a jacket. It's like August in Texas, so it's like 100 degrees. So I show up there, and a friend of the family said, "Hey, I drove your car here," and this is like an hour and a half from where we live. And so afterwards, Heather's going to do some family things, and she said, "Hey, why don't you head back?" And I had to drive the car back in a sport jacket. No air conditioner in these cars. They don't have air conditioners.
Convertible, right?
Yeah, convertible.
Just let the wind hit your hair.
So it started poorly for me with this car, sweating profusely. I look like, it's a small car. It's like a clown car with a 6'3" guy in it. And it's not gotten any better.
You are diminishing one of the traditional sports cars in the world, the MG, which has been around for over 100 years.
He's a new car guy. You should see his new truck.
I'm with your wife on this.
His new truck.
Completely.
It was badass.
Oh, Ford Bronco's nice.
No, if
Can't
I
go wrong
listen,
with Ford Bronco.
Yeah, if I just want something. If I go out there and turn the key, it reliably cranks.
That's
I don't
fair.
want
Fair.
something that's gonna. It's the reason why I don't go buy a boat. I would love to have a boat, but I don't want to go and get to the lake, get myself all jazzed up, and I turn the key and it doesn't start, which is what happens when you don't use a boat.
Except when
happens when you don't buy a boat from Lou Wendell.
The Lou Wendels don't do that.
Yeah,
You just
Lou
go, you
Wendell.
turn the crank,
Turn
and you
on
go.
all the time.
Yeah, you got
By the way, I'm looking
depth
at-
finder fires right up. You just go.
They
looking
provided
at,
all the boats for the James Bond movies.
MGs for sale near Morgan. Are you trying to sell this?
No,
I'm looking
it's
online.
not
Well,
for
it
sale.
didn't get sold. He just told you. Heather said no.
No.
I know Heather said no. I'm just looking online here. It looks like the one you're talking about.
Football season tickets will be the best in over a decade.
Yes, right now we're trending highest since 2013. But we still need to finish strong. That people have responded very, very well.
Will the Directors' Cup is a point total of every major conference school in the country, and you get points for every sport. Will this be the best?
Undetermined. That final number will come in. They'll release that shortly after the College World Series ends, because those points are still being calculated. But going into the spring, we were 22nd overall, second in the Big 12. Now, our spring sports seasons, we don't have as many sports in the spring, and so we typically lose a little traction there. Like much to the dismay of many West Virginia fans, we don't have softball, for instance. So we may slip a little bit from that position, but at least through this last ranking, it was the best we've been in some time.
A lot of people are going to be disappointed listening or watching this that you did not announce the creation of the softball program, or that you're moving the football stadium over to Milan Park. It would be some great
Yeah,
disappointment.
because somebody's uncle was in a meeting recently about that new stadium site.
I tell you, the DOH was there. They said they're going to make the road right out to that.
I've not heard that.
Oh, you haven't heard that one?
No.
Oh,
I must have not been invited to the meeting. You would
that's like
think I would have been included.
That's like the Mothman. That's like the Mothman. It's just out there.
Yeah, a bunch of people had a couple cousins that are electricians that they were already called in and discussed the
If you go out there,
stadium.
you see where they've already moved dirt.
Love it.
Why would you bring up the Mothman?
Oh, it's
Yeah, who
Tony's
brought up
thing.
the
It makes him nervous.
Don't bring up the Mothman.
It
Move
makes
on.
him. Makes
We're not
him,
talking about the Mothman.
It makes him nervous. Well, we appreciate your time very much. A lot of stuff happening.
It is. But, I just want to say how much I appreciate everybody at home and everything that you all do, because it does matter. And it matters more now than ever that you buy tickets, you come to games, you donate when you can, because we are at a very critical time in intercollegiate athletics, and certainly for our program. But I do believe we have a pathway for success, but it's going to take everybody doing their part.
Yep.
Thanks for having me.
Thanks for having us.
Good, thanks for having me.
Yeah,
we
well
certainly
played,
appreciate that.
Well
There he
done.
is, Vice President and Athletic Director of West Virginia University. I think, Hoppy's got 3 honorary degrees now. Did you know that? Shepherd, West Virginia, and West Virginia Wesleyan, 3 honorary degrees. We're going to make him Dr. Wren Baker.
Dr. Wren Baker.
You're an educator. You got advanced
He
education.
was a
degrees.
school principal.
I know. So
A school principal.
Dr.
one
Wren
time.
Baker. 3 guys brought to us by Jan Dills, attorneys at law. They won't take no for an answer. Comac's business system, keeping West Virginia's business data safe, secure, and efficient for 25 years. By Gomart. Get a Gomart rewards card. Go to gomart.com for details. By Lou Wendell Marine Sales in St. Albans. They sell family fun. Visit LouWendellMarineSales.com.
And Wren is looking for a boat as we speak.
By Tudor's Biscuit World. Start your day the homemade way with a Tudor's biscuit. Go to that website, VoteTudorsMerch.com. Pick out what you'd like to see from Tudor's in the merch world, and then have a chance to win a $100 gift card. That's it for us. episode number 641. Three Guys Before the Game with Wren Baker. Stay well. We will see you down the road.